And when we talk of the various methods by which one can establish the kinds of talents and gifts that are part of their identity, there is the issue of tracing back your lineage, your ancestry, and establishing the names of your grandfathers, your grandmothers, the great grandparents, the great great grandparents, if you can actually identify them. That's one way. And I would say that's the most important one. It's a priority, it's an imperative. Everybody should make an effort to find out who they are by establishing where they come from. By where they come from, I'm not referring to a physical place. I'm talking about the ancestry, the lineage, the previous generations. That is necessary for everyone to dig down the line and establish who exactly they are through getting to know where they come from, the kingdom that they come from, by getting to know who went before them, their fathers, the grandfathers, the great great grandfathers, their mothers, the grandmothers, their great grandmothers, their great great grandmothers. All those are important. The uncles, the aunts, the cousins. That's very important to every individual, every family, every household. Now, we also acknowledge that there are certain realities that cannot be disputed. We have people who may be orphans, who have no idea who their mother or their father was. Maybe they were dumped outside a clinic, a hospital, or maybe their mothers had some altercation, some quarrel with their fathers, and they parted company under unceremonious circumstances. And their mothers may have vowed not to get in touch with the man that they had a child with, and therefore the children sometimes get denied the knowledge about their fathers and the households or lineages of their fathers. That's a reality. And for them to trace their ancestry becomes an impossible task. But they also want to know which talents may be constituting the identity into which they were born. They want to discover their talents. The alternative is to look at what they find themselves doing without too much effort, but excelling in those tasks or duties or roles or responsibilities. They just find themselves becoming the center of excellence, the gold standard in the performance of certain responsibilities and roles. And you know what sometimes happens, which is very fascinating. Within a group, Whether you are at meetings in community, groups, sometimes you find that times out of number, when they want to nominate somebody to represent the entire group or to take certain specific responsibilities, there are certain roles and responsibilities that always end up on your plate. The people that nominate you cannot fully account for their decisions. And you yourself are not able to justify why you are ending up occupying certain positions. I know, for example, in the community, whenever people gathered and I was part of the group, and it came to a point where they needed to appoint certain, you know, individuals who would take up certain roles on behalf of the community, I always ended up being asked to be the treasurer. You know, I don't quite have the credentials for handling finance. I do not have a background that justifies being chosen to be treasurer. It could be at the place of work. It could be in the community. It could be in a club or a trust. I always sometimes end up taking on the role of being the treasurer, receiving the financial contributions, keeping them, and then, parceling them out when the time comes for them to be used. This has dogged my careers, my involvements all over, be it at work, in the neighborhood, in clubs. Usually, I am asked to be the equivalent of a secretary general. And along with that, I am also nominated to handle the finances, the cash. And sometimes I have to say to the group, look, in order for us not to, end up having some biases and maybe conflict of interests, why not, hand over one of the responsibilities to somebody else and I could stick to one. And sometimes there are very, heated arguments that people themselves arguing over those things are not, too conscious about the reasons, the rationale behind their arguments. But I've often felt and realized that perhaps these are roles that are not necessarily uh, related to credentials, to training, to background, but they have to do with bloodline talents, gifts, roles, responsibilities, and anointing. Even at church, you find yourself being asked to handle the cash. And yet, you have accountants, you have people who have done finance, sometimes in college or university. Now, whether it will be a question of trust or just a matter of coincidence, at the beginning you can tell the difference. But then as this thing persists, as you continue to find yourself, being placed in those roles and responsibilities to handle them, you then realize that maybe you are cut out for this. Maybe it is one of the areas where you should actually be, you know, full time engaged in, where you should operate in. And no matter how much you try to, shake yourself free, break yourself free from those responsibilities, they continue to follow you. They continue to dog your journey. You can't escape them. You see, so that's one example. There are many other instances one could cite, different from this particular, model or example.